Wife cheated 4 years ago and I'm still not over it. First of all, sorry for my crappy English. I'm Dutch. My wife was cheating 4 years ago. She did it with a coworker once, and after that the guy kept blackmailing her for more, so she says she then got a way out of by starting a relationship with another coworker and leaving me. She was away for 4 or 5 months. She then came back and I took her in. Mainly for the kids. Then we started growing back to each other and we tried again. But it's since then that my life became a mess. I gained a lot of weight, can't sleep at night, my friends don't care about me anymore because they know one of the guys too. I stopped many social occasions because I'm scared to bump in on one of these guys. Every time I want to talk about it, my wife shuts down. I say a lot of things and she sits there in silence. I'm out of life juice at the moment. I don't want to be weak and not go to work. But the insomnia is killing me and affecting my behavior. It's since 6-7 months that I'm seriously considering suicide. But first do something horrible to the guys. But again, I want to stay strong for my great kids and not set a bad example. Anyway, I hope somebody has a similar story or some advice. Story 2, my wife cheated, and I'm struggling. I'm new to this thread. I 34M found out 2 months ago my wife 34F of 10 years stepped out of our marriage with a married friend of ours. We go camping a lot with our kids and a few different groups of friends. We were going camping for my birthday this weekend. During this camp trip, one of our friends who is married made a move on my wife and kissed her. I didn't know about it due to another event where one of our friends died in front of us during this same trip while riding quads. I noticed my wife acting differently and confronted her, and she told me nothing had happened. Over the next month, she started acting odd and going to places she didn't usually go. I then started to track our vehicle with the app and noticed she was going to spots and parking for hours. I continued to confront her, and she made me feel crazy. Finally, after a month, I found a little proof and confronted her, and she told me she was talking to someone. As the next 2 weeks unfolded, she told me everything, that they were meeting up and had kissed. I pressed harder, and she finally told me they did everything except have sex. She promised she would stop talking to him, but I found out they talked again 2 weeks after I found out and sent sexy pictures. After that, I left and gave her space. I guess then she released what she wanted. She stopped communication and promised me everything was done. Since then, they haven't had any contact that I know of. She claims she loves me and only wants me. She says she was selfish during a time of depression, which made her step out. She also blames me as another reason, telling me I didn't give her space when she needed it, which was asked during the affair, which lasted for 1 month. I'm having such a tough time trusting her, loving her again, and seeing her in the same light I used to. I'm looking for guidance from other survivors who tried to make it work. Is it possible to make it work after she cheated? What methods have others used to eliminate the pain or the heartache? How have you begun to trust again? Would you stay in this situation and give it a second chance if the marriage was good up until now? I have been on such an emotional roller coaster and have fallen into a depressed state. I've started therapy, meditation, working out, and other self-care to improve my mental health. I know it takes time, but I could use any help and support. Story 3, should I tell the AP's wife? My 30s ex-GF 30s had a months-long affair with a coworker 20 years older than her back in early 2019. He's been apparently happily married for 20 plus years and has 2 kids. Shortly after I found out, I messaged his wife on FB and told her everything. I later discovered that he had logged into his wife's account pretending to be her, so I was not chatting with the wife but with him. He of course deleted the conversation, so she is still unaware of the affair. We attempted reconciliation, big mistake, and broke up a few months ago. A few months after the affair I developed symptoms of antibiotic-resistant Mycoplasma genitalium YA. And since I had never, ever had time with anyone else except my then GF, I concluded that I must have got it from her and she must have got it from him. I told her that she needed to inform him of this to prevent further spread, but who knows if she actually did. Around 2 years post-affair we get another lovely infectious disease surprise. My GF's pap smear revealed that she had an advanced HPV infection which required surgical excision because if left untreated can turn into cervical cancer. So this AP very likely gave us 2 STD'S, one of which is potentially life-altering. Because I'm the world's biggest doormat, we chug along for a few more months before eventually breaking up. Towards the end of the relationship my ex-GF was getting super sketchy with her phone, quickly swiping out of SC when I'd walk by. I caught a glimpse of it and saw that she was chatting with the AP from before. I didn't bother with trying to investigate further. I kinda just mentally checked out of the relationship, stopped having time with her, and we broke up very shortly after. My question to you is, how should I go about informing the AP's wife? Given the health implications, I have a moral imperative: let her know, since I highly doubt that her scumbag husband told her about any of it. Based on her FB profile, they appear to still be together. Since he monitors her FB account, I can't reach her through that. As far as I can tell, she has no other social media. Her early 20s daughter is active on FB and IG. Would it be terrible of me to tell the daughter about her father's affair? I'm out of ideas on how else to expose him. Update: should I tell the AP's wife? Holy shitballs, Batman. This was perhaps the single most bizarre experience I've ever had. I reached out to the 20-something daughter in the kindest way I could think of, asking her if she could put me into contact with her mom, since I suspected that the AP was monitoring the wife's FB account and deleting messages. I didn't want to contact the daughter, but if you read my previous post, I had no other way of reaching out to the AP's wife, and since there were potential health concerns, STD'S, I felt morally obligated to contact her. Unfortunately, since my first failed attempt to inform the AP's wife back in early 2019, the AP completely and totally poisoned the well, so to speak. The daughter was hostile towards me right out of the gate. She had some knowledge of my attempt to contact back in 2019, and she believed that I was a crazy guy with a vendetta against the AP who was trying to break up her family. She refused to pass my phone number on to her mom and instead demanded smoking gun evidence that any cheating happened. Of course, like most of us, I only have pieces of the puzzle but not a smoking gun. My ex was good at covering her tracks. All affair communications were carried out in Snapchat. I had more than enough evidence, though. Any reasonable person would see that. Texts between me and the ex mentioning his name in relation to the affair. A screenshot of a Snapchat conversation between the two of them flirting and talking cute. Screenshots of my original attempt to expose the AP, in which I suspected the AP hijacked his wife's FB account. Loads of screenshots where out of nowhere the AP starts liking every single post my ex made on FB when the affair was active. So many pieces. Eventually the daughter starts to kind of get it, but suggests that this only proves an emotional affair, and that her mom didn't really need to know about it. I explained the whole process of how I eventually got my ex to admit that she had time with the AP. This happened in a couples counseling session. I also explained that I had to be treated for an STD shortly after the affair, and that 2 years after my ex went in for a pap smear and found that she had an advanced HPV infection that required electrosurgical excision, since there is a chance that it could turn into cervical cancer. I did my damnedest to stress that I was not out for revenge. I felt I had a moral obligation to inform the wife of possible risks to her health. So in the end, it's in her daughter's hands. She told me that she would handle it and demanded that I cease all future attempts at contacting any member of her family. I hope that her conscience will kick in at some point, but honestly I don't know if it will. If all she does is push for her mom to get a pap smear, that's all I really care about, honestly. I'm so done with this asset. Update: should I report the AP to HR? If you are familiar with my previous posts, you will know that I twice attempted to inform the AP's wife about the affair. The first time was back in 2019, 2 weeks after I found out. I contacted her directly over FB, but I strongly suspect that the AP hijacked her account, impersonated his wife, and deleted the conversation. The second time was just a few days ago. I contacted the AP's daughter over FB, and she was very hostile towards me and left me with the impression that she may try to bury the information in an attempt to keep her parents from splitting up. The wild card here is that there are serious health concerns. I strongly suspect that the AP transmitted 2 STDs to my ex-GF and to me. One relatively minor that was treated with antibiotics. The other potentially life-threatening, HPV, which resulted in my ex-GF requiring an electrosurgical procedure to remove precancerous cells from her cervix. This happened around 2 years after the affair, which is consistent with the timeline of HPV infection progression in the medical literature. I believe I have a strong case against the AP that could lead to his job termination. He is 20 years older and was in a supervisory position to my ex-GF when the affair occurred. His job requires that he maintain a relatively high-level security clearance. Given his attempts and possibly the attempts of his daughter to obscure the truth from his wife, and given that his wife is currently unaware of the affair, The federal government would consider him to be a national security risk due to the possibility of a foreign entity using this information against him for coercion and blackmail. Also, given that he may have knowingly transmitted STDs to his wife and never informing her about it, he could be subject to lawsuits and criminal penalty. This is the sort of scorched earth nuclear option that I didn't really want to do. I don't want any potential blowback on myself. I've heard of APs suing BSs for lost income in retaliation. I think I would have a strong defense against such a suit, but I don't really want to open myself up to all that stress. I also don't want my ex-GF to get any career fallout from this. I can't shake the feeling that I and my ex-GF have suffered so much as a result of all this, while AP has not suffered at all and likely will not suffer any consequences. Should I just let it go and be like Jesus? Or should I press the big red button and declare war? Redditors' reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1, it's been 4 years, you've informed them all already, I don't think this is actually helping you. Op answer, to be fair, there's some reason to believe the affair may be ongoing. I caught my then GF messaging him on SC again several months ago. I didn't bother investigating. I was just done with the relationship at that point. Redditor 2, I would, as you say, push the red button and make sure you have all your proof needed to prove everything and have it in a very secure place. If you need to do this, then do it and be done with it and let it go. Be prepared for fallout and do it anonymously. Otherwise, your only other option is to let it go. Op answer, there would be no possibility of anonymity. The Gov is thorough in its investigations of this nature. I also don't have smoking gun proof, unfortunately. Heaps of circumstantial evidence. I should have done a better job taking screenshots, but when you're in the fog of war you don't think clearly, and my ex-GF was good at covering her tracks. Redditor 3, I've read your posts as you post them. This is starting to get unhealthy. I understand there is a STD present, but you've tried twice. It's starting to seem like this is a vendetta. I don't see how reporting App to Hour is helping the OBS with knowing about the possible HPV. If he has it, I'm sure she knows, seeming how that's his wife. I do hope you find some sort of peace with all this. It's eating you away. Op answer, yes, this has been morphing into a vendetta and it's probably not healthy. The idea of him going free without any consequences has been eating away at me. By contrast, my ex-GF and I have suffered horrific consequences. I should probably just accept that the world is not fair and move on. Story 4, wife exploded marriage and family life. Now what? Some background. Hi. I'm aged 42. Was with my partner about 18 years. Did everything for her, including emigrating and leaving behind family and friends. Learned a new language. Waded through lots of crappy jobs before eventually building a solid and successful career, all of it against the odds. Have 2 wonderful kids that I adore, 3.5 years and 5.5 years old. In September I noticed some suspicious behavior. She started primping and preening herself for work. I noticed her painting her toenails and became suspicious. After all, who'd see them? Deep down, my suspicions were growing. Over the coming weeks, I saw more and more signs that suggested infidelity, new underwear, disinterest in time with me, a protracted way of communicating, and disengagement. WTF was happening to us? I asked. She dismissed my concerns and would only admit getting some nice compliments from a colleague. I'll spare you the details. She was cheating. It started in September. Just before Christmas we filed papers for divorce. I paid her out. I had to fight for 50% custody of our kids that she knows I worship and adore. Amongst all of this, she created a new narrative of our relationship, wherein it had been branded as mentally and physically abusive. This is totally untrue, but hurtful and bewildering to me. I'm reeling and feel lost. The kids are reeling. And, almost overnight, she's like a totally different person than the one I knew. It's like the person she was, has left, and was replaced with this cold, calculating, selfish, confrontational and dishonest person. I just can't compute WTF has happened. Looking back, I suspect she spent 9 months or so, making a mental logbook of what was wrong with our relationship, yet not engaging with me and sorting anything out. I sensed something was off and articulated that she seemed apathetic, yet she wouldn't engage with me to sort things out, which made me more frustrated and caused more disagreements. I now think she was, partly, gently stoking the flames. I've grown to suspect that her affair partner may have been in her ear, at least part of this time. Prior to this we had no history of infidelity, I'm quite confident of that. Publicly she'd be viewed as a dignified, kind and trustworthy person. So this new persona, well, it doesn't fit well with how she's perceived or perceives herself. Nonetheless, I'm questioning the authenticity of every memory from the last 18 years, which is heartbreaking. Edit, I initially forgave her for cheating, and told her she had to, at least, put things on hold for a few months, to see if we can fix things, for the benefit of our kids. She tentatively agreed, but later I saw evidence of her cheating again, and again. Advice please, grateful to have found this sub. I'm feeling so overwhelmed with the task ahead of me, mainly going it alone, and co-parenting. My children are so young. My kids are hurting, particularly the eldest. At 5.5 years old, she has some comprehension of what's happening. Overnight her mom moved out. And now we are divorcing. I'm an adult, and I can't comprehend WTF has happened. To console them, I've been trying to remind our kids that all feelings are valid, that I love them and she loves them, and that won't change. I've said I also feel sad by this and said we can and should talk often. This helps, I think. But I don't know WTF I'm doing honestly. And I don't know who to turn to for help. Hence my post. I paid off my wife ex, so that I could keep our kids home as their home. I want to preserve some continuity for them, amidst this chaos. And, I think that was the right decision for them, my kids. I have friends and family. I have therapists. But I live in a foreign country, speaking a foreign language with my kids and feel so alone and so overwhelmed. I have at least 15 years of this. How do you guys do it? From those of you further down the road than I, what can I expect? How have you managed to keep going? When I don't have my kids, I miss them so much, I'm depressed. When I get them, I don't get 5 minutes to think clearly. It's so intense. Yes, my kids are my main source of motivation. But I also feel like I lost the woman who gave my life purpose. And now, I'm trying to straddle being a dad and a mom, when I'm with our kids, because I feel her behavior is so uncharacteristic of the woman I loved for so long. I haven't really even had time to process what has happened over the past 2.5 months. This cheating and divorce came, largely, out of nowhere. I thought any problems we had were mostly related to having 2 young children, and that things would get better in the coming months or year. But not this. It's so destructive and drastic. Update 1 Jan 3, 16.00 set. Just logged in to read any responses to my post. Fuck, you guys and girls are incredible. I'm so touched by the outpouring of support. It means so much to know and hear from others that I'm not alone and that my experience is not unique. I'll respond to each comment later today. Thank you again to everyone for reading and commenting. Update, how do you guys cope when kids cry? Very recent divorcee. She left relationship like a rocket for someone else a few months back. No real warning signs. Kids and I left reeling. I've 50% custody. Today is last day. I have kids 3.5 and 5.5 years old before they go back to her for 5 days. The eldest has been bawling her eyes out, crying multiple times today, saying how much she's going to miss me tomorrow and why do mom and dad have to divorce. I'm trying to hold it together, but it's heart-wrenching. I just want to take away their sadness. And it's like my ex is largely unaffected by what the kids are going through. Of course they miss their mother too. I don't know what I'm doing. Just trying to support my kids as best as possible and validate their emotions. I'm not bitching about their mom. How do you guys cope? Seeing my kids crying is the worst. And for the first time, I can't solve the problem and make them happy. I feel lost. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1, I feel you, brother. Been there. I think it's important to show your kids that you are also allowed to be sad. They should be aware that it's okay to have feelings of all kinds. So I would say, allow yourself to show your feelings, and tell them that it's also completely okay for them to feel sad. Tell them that they will feel better in time. At the same time, you should restrain yourself from trash talking their mother. Save the anger for the time when they are not with you. Let the anger out before it consumes you. I was pretty much in the same position 4 years ago. I told the kids that I didn't want to split, and that I'm also very sad. I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but it felt right. I would have wanted to tell them that I'm absolutely furious about their mother leaving to be with this other guy, and that I would very much like to break his kneecaps given the opportunity. But as previously stated, there's no point in trashing their mother in front of them. I'm no expert, but I hope that we can help and support each other in sharing our stories. Op answer, thanks for message and for sharing your own experiences. Like you suggested, I have always and particularly now tried to tell our kids that every emotion is okay and normal, and what is most important is to talk about these emotions. Both my ex and I would have a propensity to bottle things up, and that clearly didn't help us, and many others. Like you, I've also said I didn't want to split. Initially I went along and lied, but that felt wrong. I want to be true to myself, because I did want to work on things, but she chose not to. I won't bish about her or what she did. But one day, when they are adults, I'll give them the full story and they can decide for themselves if it's relevant info or not. Have also fantasized about breaking some kneecaps, but figured I'd only end up ducking myself further. Story 5. Just found out wife of 10 years is cheating, help please. I'm 33 and she was my world. I shaped our whole world around her. I treated her like the queen she was. I found out yesterday that she's been cheating on me since Thanksgiving from what she told me. She knows she ducked up. This is actually the second time. First time was 2020 April-ish. We have everything together. We've been together for our defining years of our lives. We have 4 homes together and 8 frozen embryos. I've built my life around her, and that includes my support system. It was her and her family. Now I'm kind of left with nothing. She said it's cause she wanted kids, but she didn't say a word about it. With 8 embryos we've done IVF. Took a break and here we are. Ironic thing is she's basically infertile. She cheated with a coworker. Had him at our house when I was in CA with my family. One day I say she hadn't left work, her Tesla was in the parking lot and her phone wasn't answering. I texted a few coworkers, not the one she cheated on me with, to make sure she was okay. She eventually called me and said she accidentally put her phone on airplane mode. I asked her and she said she was with him that afternoon. And last I'm aware of, we got in a fight this last Tuesday and she went to his house. I honestly don't know how to process this. Any help? Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, you gave her a chance and she blow it again, sorry but no more chances. Divorce is the only answer now. At this point there is zero trust and she will do it again. Redditor follow up, she's cheated twice and went from you to the AP's house. Sadly stick a fork in it, your marriage is done. Here's the drill, talk with 3-5 top attorneys, choose the best, then she can't use the others due to conflict laws. Document the cheating, although not that useful in a no-fault state. Get on her computer or laptop if she left them behind and see what you can find. Cancel all credit cards and freeze accounts that are in your name as soon as possible. Go no contact with her or the AP. Out them with HR at their company. If he is a manager, sue them. Possibly they will both be fired. Tell her family and your friends what happened. Get your story out there quick. Tell her to get her things or move them to storage. Change the locks if the house is solely in your name. Not sure you can get away with this if your wife is on the title. Read Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life. Learn the terms Grey Rock, 180, True No Contact. If it's not simple to separate assets, then attorneys need to get involved. Burn them to the ground. Redditor 2, protect yourself and your assets first. I would also concur, destroy the embryos legally so that she doesn't get pregnant with your child. Ren. Collect your evidence and contact a good lawyer. She doesn't respect you, nor does she care if she hurts you. Why would you consider giving her a third chance? Redditor 3, the first thing that you need to do is breath. Most of us has gone through something like you have. With that being said, take a good look at what you wrote. Not once but twice she has cheated on you. I know you have so many assets together, but this is your life, always wondering when the next time she is going to cheat. If you decide to forgive her, you get into an argument and she runs to him. She has completely picked who she wants to be with. Depending on where you live and what the laws are. If you are in an at-fault state or country, you need to get evidence of your cheating. Whether to hire a PI or however you can gather it. Consult with an attorney and please listen to them. Make sure you check out their ratings and hire the best, because you might stand to lose a lot by making the wrong choice. Redditor follow up, this is good advice. I just uncovered the affair that my wife of 16 years was having. I promise you it sucks very badly, but after a little while with therapy, reading some books on the topic and getting away from her, gray rocking her, you'll discover that leaving her will be so much more healthy for you. I'm so sorry that this happened to you again, and best of luck on your journey.